Alright, so we're back. Part 2. Finished up talking about RK Bro versus the Usos in the last episode. And so now,
before we get going, Jack, we got to do a quick count. What is the Survivor Series count? Raw versus SmackDown victories tonight.
Okay, if we're counting the Battle Royale, it is 4-1 at this point.
Yeah, if we're counting the Battle Royale and we're counting the pre-show, which is up for debate, 4-1. How and why, Jack, or can Fox have ever let this come to be? How has Fox found themselves down 3 in a predetermined show? Yeah. I have a theory, an Austin theory, about how and why Fox could be sitting cool in their seats, letting USA walk away with all these victories, Becky Lynch, Omos, RK Bro, and still feel like they're getting something out of this arrangement with WWE.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And we forgot to mention it. There's at one point in the show where Roman Reigns goes to see Vince McMahon.
That's right.
And that's where Vince tells or reveals, hey, the egg is worth $100 million. And that's when Roman tells him, hey, almost as much as my next contract.
What a cool shot it was to see Roman sitting across from Vince McMahon. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There was something about it, like, it's like Vader approaching Palpatine. It really changes how you look at Vader a lot, right?
Yeah.
And he's, of course, bigging up that egg that we got more context for. It was a gift. A gift from who, Jack?
The Rock.
It was a gift from Roman's cousin, The Rock. He started here 25 years ago today with $7 in his pocket. I love Vince McMahon, the old man. I love Vince McMahon, the rambling old man who likes this egg. And Roman's like, what did you call me here for?
Yeah, and then by this point, as we move on to the next match, by this point, we learned that the egg has been stolen.
Yes. It took 2 segments.
And that apparently they're going to hold, like, the entire roster on Raw the next night, or today.
Tonight.
Yeah, tonight, to see, like, if any of them stole it. And the line of the night goes to Corey Graves saying that he feels bad for Vince McMahon, saying, how many times can you bring an egg to Survivor Series and it ends badly?
That is such an incredible line.
Oh, man, I couldn't believe it. And, like, it's not going to make me tune in, but I definitely want to catch the highlights to see what happened.
Jack, I was filled with it wasn't just curiosity. It was like an innocence, Jack, that was filled in me when we found out that the egg had been stolen and that he promised in that super, like, carny voice, tomorrow night, get all the superstars to be there so we can interview them. It's who hit Stone Cold with The Rock again, Jack, 25 years later. Or no, 2022.
Yeah, I just want, I hope they go full comedy into it and just, like, have, like, all these, like, actual, like, almost, like, detective, like, interview segments with, like, a bunch of superstars.
They got rid of Fandango too soon. They got rid of Breezango too soon.
Yeah, they would have worked wonderfully here. But yeah, I definitely, like, I want to see, like, what it is that they do for this entire segment.
Jack, who do you think has it?
See, that's a tough one. I mean, either they end up doing, like, a comedy character like R-Truth, or they do, like, something, like, actually serious and turn it somehow into some, like, storyline with it.
Right. I'll reveal my prediction after we review the next match.
Yeah, so the next match is the 5v5 women's match this time. SmackDown consists of Sasha Banks, Toni Storm, Natalya, Shotzi, and Shayna Baszler.
Correct.
And they face off against Team Raw, which has Bianca Belair.
Yep.
I believe Zelina Vega.
True.
Carmella.
Yep.
I forget the last two. Was it Rhea and Liv, or was it two other people?
Rhea and Liv.
Alright, so that's the 5v5. And I promise I don't hate women's wrestling. I actually quite enjoy it. As you heard from me talking about Impact in the last episode, and the people who know from last year, Stardom gave me like one of my top matches last year. But I don't know. It seems like the crowd wasn't into this one. I mean, probably like this late into the night, maybe is the reasoning why. But they didn't seem that much into it, you know?
You know, and with the participants involved, there's not a lot of that sort of established drama or storyline, except for two, right? Except for two participants who they got super excited about once they tagged in.
Yeah.
When Sasha tags in and Bianca tags in and go face to face, that place came undone because we were watching a WrestleMania rematch. I mean, for the ages, I suppose. One held the title, one took the title, and neither have the title, but still, there's bad blood there.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, they threw in a similar thing of, I want to say, I think it was Raw's women's team last year, where it was like, can they coexist? Because like last year the SmackDown team was like coexisting well, but like the Raw one wasn't, because you remember the whole storyline of Lana.
Right, yes.
So they kind of gave that to like SmackDown one this time, where it was like, it wasn't necessarily can all of them coexist, it was more like, can Sasha Banks just coexist with teammates for once?
I agreed. And, you know, I think it was an underlying theme of every Survivor Series team, you know. But this one is maybe where it was more impactful to most. Because in the pre-show, I didn't mention, Sasha was bigging up her whole team, hyping up everybody except for Shotzi. She literally acts Jack like she's forgotten her name. She's like, you have Natalia, and you've got Tony Storm, and you are... And yeah, like, you know, so they're not coming in 100% on each other's side here.
Yeah, and there's even the spot where, like, all the women essentially take turns dragging Sasha out of the ring to, like, try and argue and fight with her, and Sasha just, like, smacks all of them.
Yeah, and they all band together and get the strongest member of their team counted out.
Yeah, really confusing booking, and, you know, once again, Raw wins.
Raw wins, Jack. Carmella was eliminated right away. You know, sneaky pin because she was too involved with her face shield, which is a good character building. But we got another 4-on-5 that SmackDown couldn't take care of, Jack. Jack, it was 4-on-1. On one.
Yeah, really confusing booking, you know.
Hoisted by their own petard.
Yeah. And, you know, it wouldn't be too, how would you say, like, too much of something like to grasp, like a concept to grasp, if they weren't constantly doing these can they coexist storylines.
They can't. The end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, the final match of the night.
Before we get to the final match, we get one more shot of Kayla Braxton walking up to Paul Heyman, who assures her immediately he has no idea where Vince's egg is, which I thought was interesting. That was not Kayla's intended question. Jack, what was Kayla's intended question?
She asked him about Brock Lesnar, right?
Yes, she did. And she asked, how do you feel, or what are your thoughts on Brock no longer being indefinitely suspended?
Yeah. Really confusing for this to be brought up. I mean, again, kind of similar to how people were thinking that the egg was building anticipation to The Rock showing up. This kind of added the anticipation of, hey, is Brock showing up in the main event?
The Brock showing up to SmackDown on in the Staples Center, which I only laugh saying because I don't think it's going to be called the Staples Center very soon.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
It's going to be called something worse.
Yeah, I can't believe the name they're going with.
Goodness gracious. But anyway, I bring that up to say, before we talk about the main event, Jack, I think Brock took the egg.
That's what I was thinking. The way, when you brought up the fact that, that was the first thing Paul Heyman mentioned, I was like, wait a second, are they going to run some storyline that Brock took the egg?
Just saying, who could get through the security? Who can let themselves into McMahon's office, short of a McMahon themselves? Did Triple H take the egg? No. Did Triple H take the egg?
Did you see the memes that people were saying that Triple H was going to take the egg to sell it and start his own wrestling company?
Yes. I've seen people pontificate that Triple H should just start his own wrestling company.
Yeah.
Jack, Adam Pacitti of Cultaholic tweeted that WWE has released more superstars this year than Impact have in their entire roster.
Oh, wow. I think I saw something like that, too. Yeah, it's shocking.
Yeah. But the egg, I hate how fun it is to talk about the egg. It almost makes me want to see the movie.
Oh, my gosh, man.
But Brock Lesnar is tentatively whom I think stole the egg. Yes.
Yeah, and then we're just gonna see somehow, some way, Brock's gonna come out and decimate the entire Raw and SmackDown roster.
And if not Brock, Jimmy Uso stole the egg.
And it's gonna somehow start a feud with Roman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jimmy, not Jay. Jay's the right-hand man, and Jimmy's the one that, came later.
Yeah, especially because I think the story, people brought up was, hey, Jimmy never technically, abided by anything. He just kind of was like, hey, I'm here, and I'll just randomly start, going along with everything.
Yeah, something's up. Something's sus. But we got one more match, Jack. And I believe the count, SmackDown versus Raw, Fox Network versus USA Network, is 1, 2, 5.
Yep. What do you think of this match? Because to me, though it had my interest, because, it seemed very similar to last year, Roman versus Drew. I was going into it with, the same expectations, but I can't necessarily say my expectations were met to that of the Drew versus Roman match.
I like this match. I was just excited for Big E that he was there.
Yeah.
Was Roman going to win? This was the one match, Jack, of the entire night you knew who was going to win. Really? It could have been Charlotte. It could have been the Usos. It could have been Damian Priest. But this one was maybe the most sure-footed, so what I was really excited about was how much they were going to let Big E do. And they let him do quite a bit. Yeah,
he did, a ton of stuff in this match. And, some people tried convincing themselves that, since it's non-title, Roman can lose. But, if Roman didn't lose last year when it was non-title, what made them think he was going to lose this year non-title?
I think the longer he holds that title, the more susceptible he is to a loss, Last year, it was impossible to fathom. The guy just won it. But a year later, we're just waiting now. And who's it going to be?
Yeah.
It could. And I think it should be somebody of Big E's, caliber and place in the card. And, you know what? We saw Big E kick out of multiple Superman punches. And he kicked out of a spear. And I honestly thought, oh, dang. They let him kick out of a spear. What else has Roman got? And you know what Roman does? You know what Roman, the head of the table, the tribal chief, does? He reminds me of how much more he has. And he slaps on that guillotine, and I go, he has so much. He could put him away with so much. But Big E wiggles out of that, too.
Yeah, and my only complaint, this is not towards the match, Peacock started bugging here and, logged me out multiple attempts, and I had to log back in.
Dang.
But that was a complaint. But yeah, I mean, I was really enjoying it too. I don't know what it was that it just wasn't giving me the same as amount of anticipation as Roman Drew. I think it was because though they did some build, the build for Roman and Drew was a bit more, I would say.
Oh, for sure. I really like the hype package for these two guys because, Roman and the Bloodline have been giving the business to Xavier Woods over on SmackDown. And Big E came to even the odds,
Yeah.
I really like that. And the Big E promo saying this could have just been champion versus champion, but you had to take it to a place we can't come back from. That's word for word. And he says, now I got to beat you like you stole something. That was a great line. It was so good.
Yeah, I love Big E so much.
How about the part, Jack? How about the part where at the beginning, they're kind of doing that beginning of the match kind of grappling. Roman goes outside, and Paul Heyman's bigging him up, reminding him of who he is, right? And, hyping him up. And Big E's yelling at him from inside the ring saying, yeah, get your mind straight for me. And that was so good.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah, pretty good match from the two of them, Roman hits.
And what does it take to put away Big E? A Superman punch off the steps. He needed that elevation. He needed to hit him with something special of a Superman punch. And then that last spear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so Roman wins. It is now 5-2. SmackDown loses overall, at least record-wise.
Right.
But their world champ walks out on top, and that's how it finishes. Even with the logo showing, there is nothing to happen afterwards.
The world held its breath, Jack, for about 30 seconds, and then we were tossed to a video package about the man we were all waiting for who didn't show up. The man they hyped with video packages and golden eggs all night, a 25-man battle royale, he didn't come.
Mm-hmm. And the funniest thing I saw was someone saying, wow, Impact was able to get The Rock for Bound for Glory 2020 last year, and yet WWE couldn't get him for Survivor Series.
Oh, no. Oh, my. That's really funny. Alrighty, Jack, here we go. Here's why I suspect Fox doesn't make a fuss about coming out of Survivor Series 2-5 overall in this predetermined world of nonsense. Because you'd think the same companies that argue and complain that the other got a Hell in a Cell match, right? Mm-hmm. That the other got Lesnar or Becky Lynch, right? They've had squabbles like this, right? What could possibly appease the Fox network in a state like last night? Perhaps the promise of a weekly appearance of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. You gotta think that Raw came out looking real strong last night because in the next couple of weeks, SmackDown's gonna look even stronger. And they said, hey, listen, we're gonna lose dirty now, but I promise down the line, The Rock versus Roman is not going to be built on Raw.
Yeah, and it makes you think if this means Brock is showing up on Raw then to counterbalance, where it's like, hey, they're getting The Rock, we'll give you guys Brock, please don't complain. You guys were strong at Survivor Series.
Something like that,
Yeah, because, at this point, it just seems like it's confirmed that this is what they're building to,
Roman used the rock bottom that didn't put Big E away. And Vince McMahon uttered his name in the Roman's presence. This company doesn't do things like that, Jack, if they don't have plans down the line.
Yeah. And so it looks like we'll start that build similar to how the Cena Rock build was done. Just show up. Hey, let's do this at this time it's months times.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to see that match, and then, here's to hoping that after that match happens, we can finally see Roman lose the title.
And is it the case, Jack, that the next WWE pay-per-view is day one on January 1st?
Yeah.
I do not think they've got a December one.
No, they do not.
Wowzer.
You know what
There's
is...
NXT War Games.
Yeah, War Games is happening. We'll be able to cover that. Actually, wait. I'm trying to remember. Did they announce War Games as like? Is it gonna be a TV special or is it gonna be its actual pay-per-view?
Let's see.
Because I didn't see the takeover name to it, so I don't know if it's a.
It's gonna be on December 5th, which is
A Sunday, so it will be a pay-per-view.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah, so we'll be able to cover that.
That's cool, except I don't know who anybody is, and I'm not particularly excited about anybody.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest too. My dad and I have severely fallen off of NXT.
Me too. I still follow Mandy Rose amongst other superstars, and one thing she posted on Instagram, which was very cool, was she posted like this little list of matches. She goes, Royal Rumble, check. Survivor Series, check. Money in the Bank, check. I'm coming into the War Games with more experience than any of these women put together. And you go, frankly, yes, Mandy Rose has been a part of all those things. Because you think about some of the women in this match, Jack, like Gigi Dolan or Priscilla Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
You've never been in nothing like this, I don't think.
Yeah.
Are they crazy?
Yeah, like, I think the biggest issue that my dad and I always say is that they introduce too much in too little of a time.
Oh, they introduced a lot. Mm-hmm. A lot.
Yeah.
Do you know that there's a guy on there now that's Bull Buchanan's son? You remember Bull Buchanan?
Bull Buchanan. I know the name sounds familiar.
I think it's funny if you don't. Big Boss Man had a heavy on his side. That was Bull Buchanan. The Right to Censor, he was in that. When John Cena started rapping, he was the guy, his heavy, he was B squared.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So to a lot of internet fans, it's like, yes, please, the offspring of Bull Buchanan.
Yeah, so I mean, we could probably, check it out, cover it, but like, man, NXT has severely fallen off lately.
I mean, it's looking for somebody. I think Eric Bischoff said that it's suffering an identity crisis. So it's looking for who it is after being something else for so long.
Yeah.
Which you as a creative, I get. I'm not watching, but I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like they've lost their footing as much as I just know that this is an integral part of growth, and it's change, and
NXT has finally moved out of its emo phase.
Yes. Mm-hmm. What phase have we entered?
Based on the logo and all the like brightness of it, I think they're in their artistic phase.
Something like that. Yeah. The early 20s. I'm gonna change the world mentality, like that you are surely living right now.
Yeah, and then got that, and then for time to decide later, but also since there's nothing to cover like WWE main roster wise, we have our top 10 lists to cover as well.
That's right, and I spent the entire last night, Jack, wondering if any of the matches that happened were gonna make my list, and one of them is very close. If you had to guess, Jack, which match of the night on Survivor Series 2021 could possibly crack Mr. Sleaze's top 10 list?
Shinsuke Nakamura versus Damian Priest.
How dare you, sir? I said I'm turning a corner. I said I'm impressed, but not that impressed.
If I had to guess, maybe, it's actually really difficult to think. I want to say Charlotte and Becky, but at the same time, I remember last year's list where both of us were really, almost in a sense, angry we had to put Charlotte on our top 10 list.
Well, I won't tell you if it makes the cut or... I'll tell you later if it makes the cut or not. But Becky versus Charlotte just might make the list.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
It is begrudgingly added that it's a Charlotte match that makes the list.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And then, as a whole, how do you feel about the pay-per-view?
I enjoyed it. Like, I don't think there was a match. There was no Inner Circle versus America Top Team that I checked out of. I was there from beginning to end. I wish Ricochet had won. It was the only match end that I would have changed. But then it wasn't until the end when I saw a look on Instagram that Raw had won again so definitively. So, as a whole, I'm worried. But, in each part, I was entertained.
Yeah,
I honestly wondered if any part of last night's, action or booking was a response to Full Gear. Or was a response to just the reactions that AEW is getting from its shows.
Yeah. I kind of had, the opposite. It was a decent pay-per-view, as you mentioned. They always find a way to do good pay-per-views, and for a lot of these matches, I was tuned in, but I want to say almost for the most part, I was actively tuned out as well for a lot of it. Just because,
I'll tell you why too, Jack. This was a whole night minus one match where it could have gone in a couple of different ways, right?
Yeah.
Either woman could have won, either team could have won in both Survivor Series matches, and either tag team could have won. That 25-man Battle Royale, I was convinced that they changed the Survivors team lineup because Sami Zayn was going to win, or because Dominic or Rey Mysterio were going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a lot up in the air that kept me interested in going. I'm like, okay, look at this. There's enough uncertainty here that I could sink my teeth into something, as opposed to waiting for the inevitable.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. And I think also my main issue was just, again, there was the lack of build.
Oh,
and, yeah. That's not to say that you can't have matches, quickly thrown together and still have, anticipation and interest for it. But, for the most part, a lot of these matches, because there wasn't a lot of build to it, there wasn't a lot of interest in it, It's Biggie and Roman, Charlotte and Becky kind of benefited from having, years of build-up or, stuff to go off of based off the past or, even the past couple of months. Whereas a lot of other matches, it was all right, thrown together because it's brand versus brand, and it's
the participants of both Survivor Series teams, both sets of Survivor Series teams, and the Battle Royale were figured out over the weekend. You know what I mean? Those changes were happening all the way up until Saturday. You didn't even know if Battle Royale was going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of it's absurd. Stop acting like you didn't have all the time in the world. You're looking at WWE like that kid who turned something in that he had a month to do, but he clearly didn't spend a month on it.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed, WWE.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because now they have more than a month to build to day one on the 1st of January, so it's hey, there's no excuses this time around, and especially it being a first-time pay-per-view, this whole concept of, hey, here's a pay-per-view on New Year's, it's going to be in Atlanta. It's hey, you got to do something impressive for this. And I don't doubt they won't because, we've seen, with the past, from the past year of covering all this, it's they found a way to put on consistently good pay-per-views despite, at times, lack of build.
I know what you mean. Yes. I find myself not missing the weekly TV and, being mostly caught up and mostly entertained by their monthly affairs.
Yeah, I get you.
Your dog agrees.
Yeah, but, I think that's always been their strongest suit is putting on, the monthly shows versus, the weekly shows.
At some point, it changed. The weekly shows were designed to sell you the monthly shows, and now it's almost completely reversed. It's hey, do you like this thing that we do every month? Well, come check us out on USA. And they're at the behest of their network overlords.
Yeah. So
not like AEW, not to be an AEW show. They're not at the behest of their network overlords at all. As Sammy Guevara's walking around with a gold-plated version of their logo.
And as they're soon to be introducing a new belt with the logo of their other network that they're moving to. Yeah. I think, I think it's a system that works for them. I don't think they, at this point, even though the concept was proposed before, I don't think they could move to a lesser pay-per-view schedule. With the way they do things at WWE, I don't think they could move to back to just the big four and maybe one or two other events sprinkled in. It's they found the formula that works for them, that despite having pay-per-views monthly, they can throw on a good quality. It's just the only struggle they'd have is building the anticipation for those events.
Well, Jack, how much time we got left on this episode?
14 minutes.
Anything else you want to pontificate on before we wrap up and enjoy the rest of our Thanksgiving week?
I'm trying to think of if there was any other news within the realm of wrestling, and I think the only thing maybe is did you see the tease for MJF versus CM Punk?
I did see that.
Yeah. Though I wish they would maybe try and continue the Eddie feud a bit, I am glad to see that they're moving on to another big-time feud, and I think we potentially see CM Punk's first loss coming soon.
That would be quite the feather in MJF's cap. Hey, Jack, here's a question that I heard asked on a podcast I listened to. I'll ask you of it. Which AEW superstar is going to be the first to win all three available men's championships? They got a tag team, the TNT championship, and the world championship.
Ooh. Thinking about it.
Yeah.
Hangman's been tag champion, and he's now world champion. All he needs is TNT. Darby's been TNT, but doesn't have the tag or world champion. But I could see Darby becoming world champion. I'm pretty sure, if someone brought this up, MJF made a claim that he's only going to ever challenge for the world title. So I don't know if MJF can be thrown, but I think it's probably between Darby and Hangman. But I just don't know who would Darby win the tag titles with, because I doubt he wins them with Sting.
Right. Kenny Omega, also a man that's held too.
That is true. Kenny could do it. I could see that happening.
Then the guy who posed the question to the hosts in his email said that he doesn't actually suspect Hangman or Kenny to do it, because that would mean challenging for the TNT championship, which he doesn't see them doing at this stage of their careers. So, after sort of thinking about it out loud, the hosts come to the conclusion that actually the best candidate might be old man MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
I'll have to do more research into whether that statement was true, that he said he'd only challenge for the world title. But yeah, I could see him doing it, and I can see Darby doing it. But like I said, my only thing is I don't know who Darby would team with. Especially because looking at who the next few tag champions could potentially be, I don't see Darby being slotted in there at any point. That's my only issue with it.
No, you'd have to make some really big change in career priorities,
Yeah. So, yeah, that is a really tough one, too, to think. Because, I don't see Guevara anytime soon going after tag titles or even the world title.
Right.
And I'm trying to think who were the other, pillars. Jungle Boy hasn't gotten any of those titles yet. So, and, if we're being honest, I don't know. It's a toss-up between whether the Dark Order or Proud and Powerful get the next tag title shot. So it's it's too difficult to tell whether he even gets the tag titles there. So it's I don't think he gets it. I don't see Miro challenging anyone for the tag titles.
Yeah, or working with anyone in general.
So, because I'm thinking of who have been the previous TNT champions.
Yeah.
I'm just I can't think of anyone. And even thinking of previous world champions, I can't see Mox or Jericho challenging for any of the other titles either.
Jericho. Mox hasn't been tag team champions, has he?
No. Him and Eddie challenged at Double or Nothing. Where people thought they should have won, and that would have helped them become one step closer to that. But I think my pick would be Darby. I feel
nice.
If they find him the right person to team with, I could see them doing it. But I can't see it being done with Sting. But I feel like Darby has the best chance out of all of them.
Nice.
And then I'm trying to. The last thing I want to ask you. With a lot of these guys' contracts coming up, and obviously now the people being released being on 90 days and stuff.
Right.
I think one issue arises in that it's kind of similar to when the very first set of releases happened last year during the pandemic. Do you feel there might be an issue of oversaturation in the sense of like, it feels like a lot of these companies won't have the money to sign a lot of these guys, and like they're gonna be like obviously it's gonna be like, hey, we're gonna only prioritize certain talents.
I heard a news report on. It's a dirt sheet news, by the way. I heard a news report that said that a lot of folks that have recently been released are learning the hard way just what it means to wrestle on the independent circuit, because a lot of them are asking for money that the independent circuit can't offer.
Yeah.
They don't know. Like they know they've been told to value themselves or to big themselves up, or you know what I mean. And like, imagine being released from your WWE contract and having to double down on that perspective of yourself. The reality is that these independent companies don't have that kind of money unless you're AEW. So. Yeah, I think they're going to talk themselves out of a lot of contracts, right? And I think like a lot of these people have families, so I sympathize with like their inability to just go and do the towns, right? Just show up once or twice in a couple of places and work everywhere, because that's how you make your money doing that, is you work everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
But like for a guy like Kevin Owens, I hope he takes enough time to just heal, right?
Yeah.
Like, you get 90 days, you're not supposed to show up anywhere. But I don't know who's done it last, but take the time to heal your body and, then come back. There's a lot of value in, like, leaving people waiting. CM Punk made us wait for 7 years.
Yeah. And, like, that was my main, like, concern of all is, like, I was like, man, these recent releases, like, it's really flooding the market, and it's like...
Yeah.
These companies are going to prioritize certain people, because it's like, you're not going to be able to sign everyone.
No, it's true. And I always worry that like when somebody gets a shot that we realize what management knew all along, and that was, oh no, you're not particularly good.
Yeah. I mean, some people have really improved their stock since then, but like there's others where it's like you haven't seen them pop up anywhere and you're like, oh, I wonder what's the reason why.
Yeah, you hate to see it. But so, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, certainly the market's going to get real flooded real soon. But hopefully people, like, take their time and heal up and, do the best they can with what the independents have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully Triple H pulls the trigger on that company he's going to start.
Yeah, I saw people even potentially bringing up the idea of, hey, like, if he were to somehow get out of, like, whatever contract he's in with WWE, imagine if he teamed up with Sinclair for ROH. And
Wow.
Could be interesting to see.
Yeah. How, interesting that so many places are available, but one, like Ring of Honor, is, like, closed its doors for a while.
Yeah.
And, like, kudos to Impact, who 10 years ago people were writing off and saying they were dead in the water and they weren't going to make it, and they're still here. Jack, they were saying things like that 15 years ago. When did Hogan and Eric Bischoff get involved?
Yeah, I think they got around around the area of like 2011, 2012-ish.
It's like so crazy to see them still exist, right? Like especially after Ring of Honor has had to let everyone go so that they can restructure.
Yeah.
In fact, they never had to do anything like that. And you think, goodness gracious.
Yeah, so, I mean, best of luck to all of them. And, like with the Ring of Honor reboot, it's going to be interesting to see what goes on there.
And Jack and I are going to do our part as often as we can to check y'all out on Fight TV.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from Bleacher Report.
Yeah, as you heard from my full review, yeah. if AEW can partner with one thing, if they can't get like some big mainstream app, go with Fight TV. That was much more enjoyable watching all that.
As soon as you're able to tour, come to Los Angeles.
Yeah, they haven't done a Los Angeles show. Or even
they
the
do
West
a lot
Coast.
of local stuff. They're literally a circuit, you know what I mean, or a territory.
Yeah.
So, but better come over here. We want to see things.
Yeah, definitely need them to come out for LA for one time.
Yeah.
But be interesting to see. Obviously, I guess, based on what our opinions are, we may see the podcast again in 2 weeks' time if War Games is worth covering or not.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because with the changes made, who knows if it's going to be guaranteed to be the same as it was before.
Tommaso Ciampa's still the heavyweight champion, so it's still going to be a barn burner in the heavyweight division.
Mm-hmm. But if not, then the next time you'll see us is more than likely giving our final top 10 lists, top 10 matches of the year, as always.
Yes.
And honestly, we've been hyping up, I want to say, almost since summer, so it's like, it's just more exciting, especially because for me, my list is way more, has way more of a variety than last year. And, there's also stuff I really need to rewatch to really see if it holds up or not.
I know exactly what you mean. Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, we'll close out here. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of Season 2 of the Rule 34 podcast. I've been your host, Jack, joined by my fellow guest,
Mr. Solis.
I want to thank you all for joining us for another episode. As always, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. This time we have time for an outro. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.